We'll call the November 18th, 2025 Alawite County Planning Commission meeting to order and ask Commissioner Johnson if he would do the invocation, please.
All right, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity for us to come together and work to serve this community and try to make the good decisions for all the citizens here. Ask you to give us discernment and clear thinking to make the right thoughts and decisions throughout this meeting that support the community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. If you're able, please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bobby Bowser, Brian Carroll,
Here.
James Ford, Jennifer Boykin,
Here.
Raynard Gibbs, Matthew Smith, Brian Shotwell,
Here.
George Rawls,
Here.
Keith Johnson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. We need the chairman and vice chairman are not here, so we need a motion to elect.
I'll make a motion that we elect Commissioner Carroll as chair for the evening.
Second.
Any other? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any items to withdraw or table?
No items this evening.
Motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same with the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Now we've come to citizens' comments. This is where citizens have an opportunity to speak on items that are not up for public hearing tonight. Is there anybody that wishes to speak under citizens' comments? Items that are not up for public hearing.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, and hello, everybody. My name is David Tucker, 6251 Old Stage Highway, Smithfield, Virginia. This pertains to your, mostly a lot to that failed energy task force. Any ordinance acknowledging battery energy storage system, BESSs, that does not prohibit BESSs from PJM transmission, cooperative and Dominion energy distribution, or community sharing is stupid. Any visit to or interest of a BESS that is not behind the meter funded, liability contained, and operated by a responsible owner is a reckless show of obligation or interest into an expensive, inefficient burden to the residential ratepayer. A burden like Halifax County is not in anyone's sights. It's not coming here, folks. No energy storage generates energy. They consume more energy than they dispatch. The energy wasted is paid for by the ratepayer. In transmission, you pay for someone's energy wasted in New Jersey. In distribution, you pay for someone's energy wasted in Suffolk. In community sharing, you may pay for your neighbor's wasted energy. Energy storage is Smith Mountain and Bath County Pump Storage, this energy storage, were designed in the 60s and the 70s to offset high energy costs on ramping back generation facilities during low demand hour and augmenting inexpensive generation during high demand hours. Smith Mountain is 75% inefficient. Bath County is 25% inefficient. Dominion Energy incorrectly told Halifax BESSs are used to meet load shifting. Well, load shifting is old school energy world, and the VCA eliminating of most of Virginia coal and oil facilities has decreased the need for low demand, high energy costs and high demand energy savings. Dominion Energy also incorrectly told Halifax they have only one operating BESS. Well, they have two operating BESSs. Dry Bridge opened up in 2023 at a 13% inefficient. Scott Solar opened up in 2022 with a 19% inefficiency. Scott Solar BESSs decreases the already low solar capacity factor from a 0.18 to a 0.15. Worth Dominion Energy not discussing. Virginia is the new BESS, is new to BESS, while North Carolina is not as new to BESS, with 16 and growing at an inefficiency total of 24% inefficient. They pay for that inefficiencies as well. I attend a Virginia Commission of Electric Utility Regulations that comes to light that the utilities' profits are tied to how much they spend instead of how efficient they operate. I got the paperwork here, folks. The more they invest in capital projects, the more profit they make. Today, the attention is shifting more to a performance goal orientation. Only as a ratepayer, I asked the CEURR, the sewer, and the SEC for shuttering any facility that's increasing risk, doing harm to the residential ratepayer. I go to the SEC meetings, folks, with billions of dollars on a line for regulated product that does not have performance criteria. The folks you see and hear in Dominion and elsewhere, they're becoming nasty and do not know their own energy. I speak about other localities such as Lunenburg, Mecklenburg, and Brunswick. Prior to going to Mecklenburg to speak, I got an unsolicited call from Dominion Energy just as I was leaving the Richmond sewer meeting. Dominion Energy demanding to know why I was going to Mecklenburg, tried to convince me they had answered all my questions in the past when they had not. Then contradicted themselves and told me they avoid me because I filed rate cases against them, which I have not. I witnessed at the SEC's suggestions. Anyone in the another one is the Virginia Energy Department. The Energy Department facilitated the now sunsetted Virginia Solar Energy Development Energy Storage Authority chair, appointed by the governor, gave me a phone call today after I pointed out that an Isle of Wight County BOS meeting, that Energy Right consisted of GOP family members. See, the VSED and ESA chair used his governor appointment in a failed man-to-man bravado attempt to hush me on behalf of his Energy Rights employees. Energy Rights does not know energy either. Can I come back later on and talk about Burles Bay?
Yes, sir.
Good, thank you. Sorry for hollering. Well,
Thank you,
not
Mr.
really.
Tucker. Anybody else that wishes to speak under citizens' comments? Seeing none, we will move to the public hearing. The first public hearing is the 5-year comprehensive plan review proposed revisions.
Resolution of the Isle of Wight County Planning Commission to approve revisions to the comprehensive plan in accordance with Virginia State Code.
Good evening, Planning Commission members. My name is Amy Ring. I'm the county's Community Development Director. Your first public hearing tonight is the proposed revisions to the county's comprehensive plan that are a result of your 5-year review of the comprehensive plan. I will give a brief summary of what those proposed changes are, as well as kind of give a brief background on how we got to where we are, as well as the purpose of a comprehensive plan for those others watching. The comprehensive plan provides a decision-making guide for future growth and development. It's developed by the community itself with a great deal of public input. It contains a list of goals to achieve the community's vision. It lists actions that need to be taken to make sure those goals happen. And for each action, the plan should also include who's responsible for heading up the effort, about how long it'll take, and at least a ballpark estimate of how much it will cost. In addition to the policies and strategies and action plans, the comprehensive plan also contains what's called a future land use plan, and it shows future recommended land uses on a map of the county, which are meant to help implement the county's goals. It's not set in stone. It should be reviewed every 5 years to see if changes are needed. State code actually mandates that at least once every 5 years, the comprehensive plan shall be reviewed by the local planning commission to determine whether or not it is advisable to amend the plan. As you recall, the last major comprehensive plan update was adopted by the Board of Supervisors in January of 2020. So 2025 was actually the 5-year mark that the Planning Commission should undertake the review of the comprehensive plan. The Planning Commission began the plan review process and formed a stakeholder working group in early of 2024 in addition to themselves. Tischler Bice also performed a growth rate scenario study in July of 2024, which was to help ascertain the potential financial and physical impacts from different rates of growth. The county also developed a 5-year action plan benchmark report, which looked at the different goals in the comprehensive plan to see whether they had been finished, they were underway, or they had yet to be started. The purpose of the 5-year review is to look at how well the existing plan is performing after its first 5 years. Changes in our plan revisions include updated population figures, growth projections, public facility and service conditions. It does not include changes to the future recommended land use plan, themes, policies, or action steps. It is not the same as a major update, which usually occurs every 10 to 20 years and creates a whole new plan. The working group formed subcommittees to look over each chapter of the plan for needed updates, and this was last summer. We also analyzed growth rate study findings that the Tischler-Weiss had produced, and we assimilated all the changes into a single draft and reviewed it as a group in August of 2025. We are now in the process of presenting the changes to the community. We had 3 different community meetings. The plan's been available online. We've had our contact information for anyone who wanted to submit comments on the proposed revisions. And we're at the point now where we're actually holding the public hearings for the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. Once we have the public hearings, we can assimilate all the feedback into the final draft and then produce the final draft with the help of a graphic artist into its final form. So some chapter review highlights. As you recall, Preserve the Isle is the chapter in the plan that looks at preserving the natural and historical resources in the county, as well as the agricultural heritage outside of our development service districts. We found that the number of farms decreased between 2017 and 2022 from 237 farms to 212, which represents an 11% decrease. The average sales per farm, however, increased by 28% during the same time. The average farm size also increased from 340 acres to 379. The total acres in active farmland, however, remained relatively stable with a slight 0.4% decrease, or 356 acres. The Shape the Isle chapter of the plan looks at the growth management aspects in the comprehensive plan and the form and different land use designations in the county, as well as impacts from population growth. The estimated population as of July 2024 in the county is 41,048 people, or an average rate of growth of 1.6% per year since 2020. However, we are still on track to grow an average of approximately 1% a year until 2040. Growth rate scenario studies confirmed that the projected growth rate is sustainable, fiscally and physically. The current growth rate still is less than the 1.9% average between the years of 2010 and 2020 that we experienced before. Connect the Isle is the transportation chapter in the comprehensive plan. We updated the road project list and added information on the expansion of public transit options like iRide. We looked at Serve the Isle chapter of the plan, which deals with public services and facilities provided by the county. The Sheriff's Office commented that it foresees the need to establish a future facility in Carrollton. We found the crime rate is still less than the national average. Riverside Hospital will allow EMS to return to service sooner when they open in Carrollton. There was an 18% increase in water customers since 2020. We updated the utility infrastructure list, including things like new water towers, water and sewer lines. We updated the community energy section with solar energy ordinance requirements and the Energy Task Force recommendations. And we updated the Parks and Recreation section in the plan. Educate the Isle has to do with the chapter of the plan that deals with the community's highest priority, which was having a first-rate educational system for the county for everybody. We noted improvements in graduation rates and standards of learning results. We updated enrollment data, spending per pupil, before and after school program information. And we also included new information on the workforce development program, school safety improvements, and future facility needs. And we had a lot of input from schools themselves in developing those updates to this chapter. Enhance the Isle is our economic development chapter, as well as our housing chapter. We found that the total number of jobs in the county decreased by 7% between 2018 and 2023. Unemployment in 2024, however, is still less than the region and the state at 3%. 66% of all workers commute outside the county to work. This is a pretty stable number. The last time we updated the comprehensive plan, it was right at between 65 and 70%. Manufacturing, retail and accommodations, and food services, healthcare and transportation and warehousing are our top industries. Revenue from tourism in the county continues to increase, and we also added some information on the broadband expansion project. The number of townhomes and apartments increased from 5.6% of total housing units in 2008 to 13.5% in 2023. The median home value increased by 19% to $333,600 in 2023 compared to $280,600 in 2020. The average sales price in the county was $415,000 in April of 2025, and that is according to the Real Estate Information Network. We also took a look at the benchmark report for the county's goals and the policies in the back of the plan that are developed in each of the chapters. And there are a total of 138 action steps. And some of these actions actually support multiple policies and are intertwined throughout the plan. 79% of these are either started or completed, and 21% are not yet started. Some of these projects we developed as priorities for the next 5 years for the Community Development Department, including the Housing Needs Assessment Update, which will tie in with established workforce housing incentives and mixed ability housing standards, develop a green infrastructure plan, and hope to tie in the Blackwater River watershed corridor protection along with the Chesapeake Bay watershed protection. Develop a small area plan for the Smiths Neck corridor, which will focus on the failing wastewater and well systems that are prevalent throughout that community, and update the economic development strategy, which is to update our identified list of target industries. So next steps, we collected any emails or comments that we received. We really haven't received any further ones since the stakeholder working group meeting, and prepare the final draft for the public hearing, which is available on the county's website. We are holding the public hearing tonight for the Planning Commission, and you all, after consideration, will make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. And after that, the board will then hold its own public hearing on the draft plan before considering whether or not to adopt the proposed revisions to the comprehensive plan. So I'm available for questions following the public hearing.
With that, we'll open the public hearing on the 5-year comprehensive plan review. Anyone wish to speak? Jonathan? Mr. Hartley.
I might as well kick it off here. My name is Jonathan Hartley. I live at 11192 Comet Road. And I was a member of the Citizens Advisory Committee that worked with the planning staff and the Planning Commission on updating the plan. My two areas of interest were particularly the rural areas of the county and then transportation with an emphasis on connectivity. So, and you all have a copy of my letter or my comments, my notes. Whether we like it or not, change is inevitable. It's not always comfortable. It's not always nice. I used to get 50 cents a week to buy penny candy. Penny candy is gone, as are pennies. The current comprehensive plan, a plan for 20 years, and I think people forget that that's the horizon or timeline for the plan, was prepared after extensive analysis, and as the director pointed out, typically extensive plans of like the one in 2020 are only done on a 10 or 20 year basis. As a 5-year update, this plan was prepared by the staff without the benefit of all of the resources that were expended back in 2020. And I would say that the county staff has undertaken a Herculean effort to get to this point. As a professional planner for 40 years, it's a huge undertaking for a small staff the size of this staff to do that and maintain and fulfill their regular duties in terms of serving the public. And I commend them and thank them for their efforts. I must, however, condemn the local newspaper for the editorial on November 12th suggesting that the county should go back to the drawing board. I'm not sure why people in the community or the editor feel that that is necessary, given the nature of this 5-year update. The editor evidently lacks an understanding of the planning process, the legal requirements, and the historical context in which the proposed update has been prepared. The county has also limited tools to manage growth, thanks to Dillon's Rule and the General Assembly. And if you're not familiar with Dillon's Rule, I suggest you look it up because it is a major obstacle for growth management efforts across the Commonwealth. Virginia is also a very strong property rights state. And the General Assembly has made that pretty clear in a lot of the actions they've taken. There also have been encouraged by the Virginia Home Builders Association, oftentimes, to put restrictions on local governments and to establish accountability for any project that they may have to, the private developer may have to help out with. I wish the paper and the editor would stop listening to those that now want to close the gates to the county now that they've arrived. Whether they came a year ago or 10 years or 20 years. I've heard that same sentiment since I got here in 1997. We used to have a group in the county. I don't see any of them here tonight, but we used to call them the Gate Closers 5. And they would speak at every public hearing opposing every project that came before the county. Growth and development isn't a new issue for Isle of Wight, and you've heard me say that before in various meetings at various times. The concept of a growth area or the development service districts were based on the existing roads and where public sewer and water could or would be available in the future. The comp plan proposed, and the 2025 plan, proposes that roughly 10.6% of the land area of the county be set aside for future development. A big chunk of that is down in the Windsor area. In the Newport Development District, it's only 3.8% of the land area of the county. That's taking 90% of the county out of the potential for future intensive development, at least over the next 20 years. The Newport Development Service.
Mr. Hartley, your time's up if you want to summarize and close.
Yeah, on the second page, you have one of my big concerns, and that is a more intensive study of the rural areas, the remaining 90%. We have a lot of, there's huge potential for additional growth outside of the development service districts. At one time, 10 acres were exempt from the subdivision requirements, and then it was increased to 20 acres. Now all subdivisions have to go through the county except for the family exemptions. I also think we need to get a better grasp of what's going on with the farm and forestry communities and how viable are they in the future. And I know that there's not a lot that the county actually can do, but at the same time, we ought to at least understand that and help in any way we can. And finally, there are some wonderful resources, the Blackwater River, the James River. There's the old railroad that goes through Walters that would make a wonderful bicycle trail for the region. And those are things that we could be identified more conveniently in a detailed rural plan. I would argue that these issues,
Mr. Hartley.
again, yeah, I'm out of time.
You've been out of time.
I've been out of time? Okay. I'll close by saying, I'm not suggesting that this plan be modified for that. But I am suggesting that those studies be undertaken in the next 5 years in anticipation of a more thorough study. Once again, I encourage you to support the updated comprehensive plan and recommend approval of it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any others that want to speak on the comprehensive plan public hearing? Yes, sir.
So,
And your name and address, please.
all right, my name is Bill Butler. I live at 6175 Rivers Ridge Lane. It's my little river cottage at Burles Bay. So one of the things I want to talk about is she mentioned something about the farmers being on less percent. Well, I work from home, so I listen to the news 7/24, it seems like. Today they had talking about the average farmer is 58 years old. It's a dying business. You know, when she talked about the farms and how we've lost 11% of our farmland and so forth, and how some had gained land. One of the things I want y'all to consider is that when the land is developed, there is no more land. It's very important to think about what you're doing. And I know we're talking about a gradual growth, but we're also talking about your grandchildren's life and what they're going to eat. And so if you have any consideration of what you're going to do in the future, you really need to think about it, because the farmers are struggling. And one of the things that was on the Today Show was they had, John Deere has a new tractor that's automated. So the guy doesn't have to spend 14 hours plowing the fields all day. He has time to do other things. So a lot of these things needs to be considered. It's not about how we develop and make tax money tomorrow. It's how our grandchildren or our grandchildren's children are going to eat one day. All these developments that y'all put in these solar panels, they get 1 megawatt per, when you could build a little unit that could do 90% of what all that land does on 20 acres. I know, because I work for Dominion. And I know it's all part of this Green Act, but in the long run, there's no more land. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. Any others that wish to speak on the comprehensive plan? Mr. Tucker?
Hello, I'm David Tucker again at 6251 Old Stage Highway. I did not move. I live in Rushmere. I overlook the Burles Bay. I'm like the Grinch. I overlook the village down there. You know, this comprehensive plan is there's been a lot of controversy about the comprehensive plan. I will not BS you and act like I've read it and I know it, because I don't, because of the controversy. There does seem to be some gimmicks that I've seen up here, such as broadband's a gimmick. I don't agree with comparing the crime rate to the national crime rate averages. You know, that's kind of like a moot point. The house value increasing, well, that means that my daggone tax rates will probably increase as well. So why would I want a village down there that's brought in by a developer, probably living in Virginia Beach? From what I've seen with developers coming into this county, it's been more so to serve the developers than the people who've been here. I've only been here for 35 years. And the traffic on Route 10, right in this area, I live right to my left-hand side's a big dip, to my right-hand side's a curve, right on Route 10. It could take me minutes to get out my own driveway. People are passing down the dip area in a blind area. I've seen them do this, and I've called a sheriff's office to try to get some involvement there. That can't be their priority. Also, at Cowboys Restaurant, the fine wine and dining place out there, there's a tree. There's a tree on Burles Bay Road, right at the intersection of Route 10. If you do not know Burles Bay Road, and you do not know that road's coming up, you're not going to see that stop sign to that tree. So how many statistics are going to have to be developed for bad automobile accidents and pure stupidity? Once again, I'm using that word a lot tonight. Pure stupidity. How many accidents have got to occur before you realize the plan may not just be working? You have got to. Developers do one good thing. They're like hound dogs. They only sniff out the sewage lines. And since they put out that beautiful 6-inch diameter, 1-inch wall polymer sewage line, the developers are sniffing around. They only follow the sewage line. So, but anyhow, nothing's happening. Not to allow the station pile up. No more of those wrecks. I'm just going over my notes. Crime rate, I've already covered that. But I can't, if people were so overwhelmingly up for this, and I do not attend these meetings out there anymore, if they were so overwhelmingly supporting this, wouldn't they be here tonight? I'm talking about the people who live in that area. So anyhow, I think I did pretty good. I've got 2 minutes left.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker.
Once again, no PowerPoints tonight.
Anybody else that wishes to speak on the comprehensive plan? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. Commissioners? Is there discussion?
I just have a question for Ms. Ring. In one of the slides you had, everything, what was increased and decreased and all of that. Was there any look at how much manufacturing and retail spaces have increased in the county since 2020 or decreased?
No, we did not look at that. That would be in our Economic Development Annual Report, and I can get that for you, definitely. Just as an FYI, I'll bring it up in the Planning Director's report as well, but Christy Suffin, who's our Economic Development Director, is due to come in January to talk about the state of economic development in the county, so hopefully we'll get an update on that pretty soon. Sure.
Well, I have several questions. First, I want to say that a lot of work went into this, a lot of good updates, and I think it's probably hard to determine as a revision, what do you just revise or what do you update? But an area that I have a little more questions about in the Connect transportation area. So I'd like to point out a couple tables in here that have not been updated. So if we go to page 45. So I think transportation to me is a very important area to really have a good understanding, a good plan, understand what the future looks like and the priorities for traffic management. And there are very few updates in this whole section.
Yes.
And maybe, that's the limitations of why that is the case, but, and you go to, you don't have it up here, do you, on the screen?
I don't, but I can get to it real quick.
Okay. Well, it might be helpful if that's possible.
Okay, give me just a moment to get to the county's home page.
Yeah, so page 45.
Okay. Just a moment here.
Okay. Well, let's see, maybe the, okay.
48.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
actually, yeah,
I'm coming.
48. So the table here, these projects here. So here's a list of projects, and they have start dates shown here. Then all the start dates have passed. So
Yes.
what's this real, I guess my question was, what are the status of these currently? Are they started or not? Or do they have new dates?
Right.
So that's an area that I think it would be good to,
I can certainly, I know that I can go back to the staff person and double check on this as to what was revised and.
yeah, and there's, let's see, if we go to, well, another example would be like on page 47, the bridge projects. Again, I think this table was not changed since the 2020 plan. So these are all bridges that were opened, 8 or 10 years ago. Is there more information on bridge projects that were completed? Let's see what the next one is. Okay, page 40, okay, on 48 and 49, I think we talk about the IROD program. And on page 51, we added Windsor. So there's an IROD route for Windsor, and it makes references to figures 8 and 9, which shows Smithfield and Franklin areas, but there's no figure for Windsor.
Right, okay, I can see that, whether they want to include a map for that or not.
Let's see. And there's a few other little things I found in here. We could probably look at this more editorial. Page 69, so there's another update that could have been included where we're talking about fire and rescue responses and call numbers. And the number we have in here is from 2018. And I just thought maybe we could have more up-to-date information on the actual latest number of calls. And maybe even trends for if that type of information's available as far as increasing in call. Maybe, is that the right page? This is, hold on, 69. It's a little bit hard to go through this sort of format. Maybe I could provide comments separately. Let's see.
So you're talking about the second paragraph from the bottom in the first column on page 69?
That's
County
it.
has
Yeah, yeah.
established a response time standard.
Yeah,
of 10
yeah, yeah,
minutes.
that's it, there it is, right there, yep. Again, it's, if we have the information, it'd be nice to include the more current information.
Okay. I'll see if fire rescue staff has that information.
Okay. All right, and there's a similar question for, on page 72 about the number of employees, county employees. The numbers that's quoted in the, currently is from 2018, so I don't, we probably had more current information on how many employees the county has.
It hasn't grown that much.
Oh, okay. Maybe, I guess that's good. Maybe less. Maybe not.
We might have 230 now.
Okay. All right, on page, I think it's 74. Sorry. Talking about solar farms, it's, I think my page number's wrong. Yeah, it's on page 73, I'm sorry. Yeah, in that new section we have there on page 73. Yeah, so it says we have, what I read before is as of March of 2019, the county has approved 3 utility scale solar energies, but now we've changed it to 11, so it can't be 2019, it's not the correct year. We went from 3 to 11.
Right. So that needs to be changed to 2024.
Again, these are kind of minor things, but, you know, I thought it might be worth pointing these out.
That's not the right page. If you look down to the bottom of the page, it tells you the right page number.
Okay, so on page 82, there were some comments added. Yeah, so there's a comment here that kind of led to another question. So, page 82, right here, is that 82? Yeah. It's 85, okay. Go up a little bit, because the new section there in yellow, the bolded text, Well, it makes a statement that community members rank the public school system and its facilities as one of the top 5 future priorities for the county based on feedback received during the plan's public engagement efforts.
That
So I
was the
guess,
2020 effort.
oh, that's from the 2020 effort.
That's actually from, that sentence is actually from the 2020 effort.
So that's really not new information.
not
Okay. Well, I guess my question was, if we said that's one of the top 5, my question was, what are the other top 5?
Right. And I think we talk about that at the beginning when we talk about the first public engagement process that we went through and that they identified the top themes and priorities for the comprehensive plan.
Okay. But, so again, that's not really new information. That's from the previous, right. All right, if we go to page 84, at the top of page 84, this is the typo. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little trivial here on this, but just to note, page 84, we talk about expenditures for students. There's just a typo there.
Okay. Expenditure per student was 14,000.
701 OM, that's
Yeah,
supposed to
in-
be. Yeah, I know.
No, it's fine.
Um,
Need all the help we can get.
all right, there were just a couple, okay, so I think, and this kind of goes back to what Jennifer was mentioning about, well, not quite yet. Let's go to page 92. Is it 92? Maybe it's at the bottom of 90. Okay, all right, actually, it's the bottom of 92, yes. I'm just confused by what's being described here. So the bottom on the right, it talks about I'm going to just round these numbers off to the nearest thousand. So there's 21,000 workers living in the county. That's what it says. 14,000 commute to outside the county. And then that leaves 7,000, which I would think if they're not commuting out, then they're staying in the county. But then it says that roughly 3,000 residents both live and work in the county. So I thought it would be 7,000 live and work in the county. So something to look at. I don't think it makes,
Okay.
That
Yeah.
could account for retired people who don't work.
yeah, they just check the numbers, I think, make sure
Right.
it doesn't.
So I
quite-
think it might be the way it's worded, because if there's 21,715 workers living in the county, 14,000 of those commute outside, compared to 7,300, doesn't necessarily mean those living in the county are commuting in. That's total commuters coming in. So,
Who live outside the county.
who live outside the county. Maybe that just needs to be further explained, that
Okay.
you're talking about commuters commuting out of the county and compared to commuters
Yeah.
coming inside the county, and then,
Because there's a figure too, the next page, it's got a little flow chart thing that
yes.
has the numbers. Something doesn't, the way it's described may not be correct.
Right, so the 3,000 both live and work inside of the county.
Okay. All right. All right, let's, yeah, the table on page 94. So these numbers and percentages, were they updated?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, okay.
1, 2019 data sets.
And should they be updated in this draft? Is that where you're going?
Well,
Based
if
on
they-
closing of manufacturing facilities
Well,
and
that's what I was-
opening of healthcare facilities, possibly.
Well, wasn't, yeah,
I'll
I don't
make
know.
sure that they're the current numbers and not from 2019. It might be the footnote that didn't get updated, not the numbers.
And then in in that same table, right, there are 2 boxes with statements in them about employment and transportation and warehousing is 38% more concentrated in Alawite than within the nation. That didn't change since the previous revision, so I don't know if that is an accurate statement.
Okay.
And if it's, and I guess my question is, why do we even need to, we may not even need to state that. I mean, it's not really relevant to our plan. And the same thing, there's a statement below that says, employment in manufacturing is 3.5 times more concentrated in Alawite than the nation. That number's probably gone down too, but. And then while we're on this page, I'm on this page, there were changes made referencing the number of veterans in the county. And they've got new numbers here. And the calculation is not correct for the percent. It says that 16% are veterans. If I did, well, doing my math, I come up with 12%. And then this may be my last one. Yeah, on page 95, we're talking about farmland. And it says that only about 1% of the county's total land area is actively farmed. I think 1% is not correct. I thought it's more like 40%.
That's 40% of the county lies outside of the DSD, but when you look at the total number of property in acres of farmland compared, that's in the Census of Agriculture, then you only, if you have 316 square miles and then however many, that percentage is actively farmed, it comes up to 1%.
We only have 16 square miles of our active farms. Is that the right number?
So I can go back and we can look in Preserve the Isle, and we have the Census of Agriculture updated there that tells us
All right.
how many acres are in farmland.
Because I thought somewhere I saw we had about 80,000 acres of farmland, and our total land area is about 205,000 acres.
So 80,316 acres in 2022, so 80,000 divided by 600 and,
I can do a little math there.
okay.
Sorry. I just want to make sure we put numbers out there that are, accurate.
There's 640 acres in a square mile.
640 acres in a square mile?
Yep.
I think we have about 205,000 acres in the county.
202,240.
Okay.
So 30% of the farm, 40% of the county's in farmland.
That's what I was coming up with. So that's why I questioned the 1% number. All right, one more comment. At the end, we have the policies and actions table. So I'm wondering, and there's also the benchmark report where I guess you all went back and looked at the status of those, and they've changed them. Some of them are now action has begun. Some of them are being successfully implemented.
I'm sorry, where am I? I was busy, I was still in agriculture.
I'm sorry. See, at the very end, there's a
Page 99,
Thank
98,
you.
99.
9899,
Yeah,
okay.
where we start the policies and
Okay,
action section. So some of these, like when the other report was provided, where there's a benchmark report where all these were looked at,
yes.
and now it shows where some of them have actually begun, where this table is still showing like some of them may be short-term or mid-term. Are those going to be updated to what we're saying now that they are ongoing?
Right. So which ones are you talking about?
Well, I don't know, not even, there's probably at least a dozen of them that are now ongoing that are not shown that way.
And the benchmark report?
Yeah. That's
Oh,
what,
okay.
yeah.
Well, if you could send those to me, I can take a look at them.
Okay.
Try and clarify it.
All right, okay, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any other comments? Mr. Jones, when is the next board meeting?
December 11th.
So if we table it, even if we approve this tonight, we wouldn't get it to that board meeting.
We could technically get it there with me doing a lot of work. If the ad has to be there Friday. I mean, I can get it there, but
Okay. What's the pleasure of the commission?
Would that meeting would be December the 11th, you said?
yeah, they moved they're not having a work session and they moved their meeting up because of the holidays.
Yeah, I would consider possibly tabling it based on the fact we're missing
So many people.
So many.
3 of our commissioners now. Thank you, Mr. Ford. I mean, if it's not too much undue work.
I second that.
That's no problem.
The tabling is no work at all.
Is that a motion, Mr. Shotwell?
So moved to the table.
Second.
Mr. Ford, second. Ma'am?
Brian Carroll,
Yes.
James Ford.
Yes.
Jennifer Boykin,
Yes.
Brian Shotwell,
Yes.
George Rawls.
Yes.
Keith Johnson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Also, just for a record, we've moved our December meeting also, correct? Is that
Yes,
right?
it is December the
December
9th,
9th.
your regular work session. And we adopted that with the calendar at the beginning of the year.
Correct, just as tonight's meeting was adjusted. Our second public hearing tonight is the Rushmere Village Master Plan.
Resolution of the Isle of Wight County Planning Commission to approve an amendment to the comprehensive plan to incorporate by reference the plan known as the Rushmere Village Master Plan as Appendix 8 in the comprehensive plan.
Ms. Ring?
So the second public hearing item tonight is the proposed Rushmere Village Master Plan. This is a map showing the study area that's the subject of this particular master plan. It basically extends from Burwell's Bay Road all the way up to the Surrey County line. In spring of 2021, the project kicked off, and in the spring of 2022, we sent out a community input survey that was sent to all owners of record and renters within the Rushmere community area to identify what citizens think of future what they think future development should look like, along with what other community amenities they'd like to see, including road improvements and streetscape features. Out of the 1,323 surveys we mailed, we received 243, representing a total return rate of about 18.4%. Responses showed an interest in trails, park, streetscapes, and road improvements, and most respondents generally showed interest in small-scale, low-density development that reflects the county's rural character in both development type and architectural design. In October of 2023, we had a community meeting, and we presented the results of the community survey, as well as underwent a sticky exercise where we asked the community to give us feedback on some proposed logos, some branding ideas, as well as ask them to give us one word when they think of the Rushmere community, what word comes to their mind. We also had maps of the area showing different resources in the area, including historical and cultural resources, environmental resources, roads, historical resources, and that kind of thing, and then asked them to include anything we had missed on a sticky and put it on the map so we could address it in the plan. So we then went back and used the community feedback that we received to develop the draft plan itself. We incorporated feedback received from both the survey and the community meetings, as well as background information on natural, historical, and cultural resources in the area, and focused on the form, design, and placemaking policies to ensure that future development reflects the community's design preferences that were reflected in the survey. This here is just some more maps showing one to the left is historical and cultural resources, and the one on the right is land use and existing commercial in the area. So we developed a set, like I was saying earlier, we developed a set of draft plan goals that were based on community input we received. They include to regularly engage community members about a vision for Rushmere's future growth. We heard overwhelmingly from the community that they appreciated additional communication from the county and to be kept abreast of latest developments and things that might affect their community. We identify opportunities in Rushmere to attract additional retail, personal services, and restaurants. People who were responding to the survey said that they did want some of these additional personal services that were closer in to where they lived instead of having to travel outside the community for them. They want to improve the walkability of local streets, expand public spaces, and strengthen the community's relationship to nearby parks. Promote the preservation of floodplains for stormwater storage and prevent personal and property damage risks. Some people felt like that there were some flooding issues in the community that they addressed in the sticky exercise with the maps that we had at the community meeting. They want to preserve important conservation core corridors, protect native vegetation and wildlife species, establish an identity for Rushmere through a cohesive signage program and streetscape improvement scheme, and adopt design criteria for future non-residential development that'll support the community's identity. So one of the goals that we had, an example of one, is that the county could increase transparency and further engage community members by taking the following steps. And action steps could include setting up a system where citizens could sign up for email or text updates on county activity, as well as increase our social media presence and recruit followers in the community. One of the other goals was that the county and community could increase opportunities for additional retail services and restaurants by taking the following steps. Ideas included establishing a village green open space area with room for special events like markets and concerts, developing additional public waterfront access at Tyler's Beach and Burrells Bay to attract visitors and encourage expansion of local businesses, and develop Bradby Park to attract visitors to include a community center with room for special events such as a farmer's market and cultural events. This is just another idea of other actions we could take to kind of fulfill the goals that the community identified. So the logo concepts were presented at the October 2023 community meeting. We gave examples of monument signs for community gateway areas. The plan also identifies the intersection of Route 10 and Fort Hugie as instrumental to future commercial development within the village. It assesses the existing development pattern and visualizes what future development form could look like within a quarter mile of this intersection, as well as gives concepts for roads, trails, and signage design. The plan could be used as a basis for future project proposal in the county's capital improvement plan, and it should be incorporated as part of the comprehensive plan as an appendix. So this is a map that Brandon Currents, who was the consultant architect on the project, came up with, kind of showing the existing development pattern in the community as it is today. The red circle pinpoints where that intersection is between Fort Huger Drive and Route 10. And the labels, the map also labels what the existing land uses are, like the existing farmer's field to the right, existing low-density residential, the limited commercial that's already in the area, as well as agriculture and additional residential in the area. He then kind of used his creative license to come up with what a potential future development pattern could look like, surrounding, again, that intersection, using that quarter-mile radius around that key intersection there with Route 10 and Fort Hugie Drive. He showed potential mixed-use commercial around the intersection facing Route 10 with potential residential and park space behind that area, but all maintaining that quarter-mile radius around the intersection. So this is just examples of some of the graphics that are contained within the plan, showing ideas for what that development could look like. The plan also contains design guideline recommendations. We recommended the county's existing highway corridor overlay district regulations should be retained and expanded. Existing design criteria for non-residential uses such as building materials, colors, side access, parking are included. Loading area placement and amount of windows. Additional design criteria need to implement the community's design preferences, such as gabled roofs and front porches could be included. And then there's a list of, how you would incorporate that into your design for proposed future development. So tonight, we're having the public hearing, where the community is also welcome to speak about the plan. And then when, at such time you all are comfortable making a recommendation, we'll go to the Board of Supervisors, who will also have their own public hearing, again, before they consider adopting the village master plan. So I'm available for questions following the public hearing.
Thank you, Ms. Ring.
Sure.
Before we open the public hearing, Mr. James, will you go over the time limits?
There is a 5-minute time limit per speaker. There's a light that comes on. At the 1-minute mark, it will turn yellow, and when your time is up, it will turn red.
So we'll open the public hearing now and ask those that want to speak on the Rushmere Village Master Plan, if you'd come forward, give us your name and address before you speak, please. Mr. Bryant?
Yep, I'm Ronnie Bryant. I live at 14466 Burles Bay Road. Lived here all my life. I'm gonna get right straight to it. In your packet, pages 6 and 21, under implement the goals and plans through specific actions, I caught my eye the most. And it states development additional public waterfront access in Tyler's Beach and Burles Bay to attract visitors and encourage expansion of local businesses. And I've lived at Burles Bay all my life, and if you haven't heard or bumped into somebody in the course of time that either got in a good fight down there or something of that nature, had a pretty bad reputation back in the day, to add. Since 1960, the county sold that, what is known as the county acre. You see that on a lot of public pieces of paper. But it's taken us, from the time they sold that piece of property to the Burles Bay Improvement Association, it's taken us 3 generations of people, and me personally, 4 decades of my life, to arrest and calm the chaos that comes with mixing commercial and private property owners. There are poles still in position from a feud from years ago that is a constant reminder of that the suggestion that the two cannot coexist in such a small area. And on a weekly basis, I am faced with having to address a problem with somebody either urinating in my front yard, letting dogs go, raising hell out on the acre, loud music. I'm also a property owner, and I am the president of the Burles Bay Improvement Association. And there's no room for us and the public to coexist. And Talos Beach, on the other hand, is open to the public. And I see things down there that I don't want in my front yard. Overnight stays, camping, people drinking out there. These are the same things that we went through for years and years to get rid of. That's not patrolled like ours is. We have our beach is posted, private property, and no trespassing. I just don't think this is the golden egg project that Rushmere is looking for. Also on page 41 in general feedback, and it was in the big screen, stated that 54 out of 100 expressed support for little to no development. And that's a pretty low number. This also reflects several responses to the question-specific comments throughout the survey. 1,323 surveys were sent out, 243 responses, leaving, if my math is right, 1,080 silent voters that say no to the project. Right. I think this suggests that Rushmere is not ready for such project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. Others?
I'm Pat O'Berry Edwards Eich, and anybody who's been in the county will know where I've been from those surnames, or where I'm from. I live at 2425 North Shore Drive, and I am speaking in opposition also to the Rushmere Village. And I did fill out my survey, and was one of those more than 50% that said, don't develop it. We do not need Rushmere to be another Carrollton, Benz Grant, North Suffolk. I have resorted now to going to Williamsburg to try to get out of the traffic. Recently, in the last 2 weeks, I was car number 13 in line to turn off of Fort Hughie onto Route 10. Counted them myself. I invite all of you to come out to Rushmere between 5:30 and 6:30 in the evening and see the traffic on Route 10 and Rushmere in particular. As the other gentleman spoke to, you can't hardly get out on the road because of traffic coming from both directions. This is before all of this proposed development. And in your, really idyllic looking plan, nowhere did I see a traffic report, traffic control study, anything that looked at the impact that we would have on the everyday folks who are coming and going in and out of Rushmere. My husband's family has owned that property since the mid-1960s, so there are deep roots in Rushmere. As the other gentleman spoke to, it is not the time to turn this into a village. On Lawns Neck Road, I spoke with the VDOT folks today, and the road there is completely inundated and deep potholes. And he's going to try to get somebody out there to fix them. This is on Lawns Neck, the big wide road going into the newer developments. The infrastructure is not there to bring in a development. While it all looks good on paper, it is not as feasible as one would think if you actually live there day to day and make that commute. It's, we need, speaking to the farms, I grew up on the farm in Isle of Wight County. I've been in Isle of Wight my entire 66 plus years. Central Hill, Bowling Green Road, and now in Rushmere. We need to preserve farms. We need to preserve, on the study you showed there with your proposal, there was 3 large farm areas that were going to be directly impacted by this development. Big green farms. Directly, they would no longer be farms. And I implore you to reconsider making Rushmere another hub of any type and allow the rural area to remain rural. Not opposed to organized, controlled development, but Isle of Wight County's record does not stand for organized, controlled development as evidenced by Smithfield, Carrollton, and Benz Grant. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Others?
Gary Parsons, 13246 Lawns Court, in the Rushmere area. It's a Smithfield address, but I'm out in Rushmere. I'm in one of the sections that was in one of the slides that said low-density development. And what that means in Ennisdale Farms is everybody's on a minimum of 5 acres, up to 10 acres. And then I see another slide here that talked about turning the 2 farm fields into low-density development. And then the next slide showed townhouses, apartments, houses. That didn't sound like low density to me. And the beauty of Rushmere is in those farm fields and in the woods that we have. We don't need to have these major developments. If the developments do happen, the obvious questions are there. As Pat said, the road infrastructure. We've got Route 10. The only other way to get out of there if anything happens to Route 10 is you have to go up into Surrey and turn left and take it all the way over to Mill Swamp Road, or you have to come down to Burrells Bay and take that out to, the same thing, out to Mill Swamp Road, and then you follow Mill Swamp Road into town to Cary Street, and once the Tenant Main is built out, that's going to be a disaster traffic-wise. So we need to think about the road infrastructure. The other thing is, you bring in all these people and kids, where do they go to school? We've got, we're already overloaded. You can play all the math games you want about whether the schools are packed or not. But we know they're close to full. And so all I'm asking is that all these things, it doesn't seem like these things have ever been really in the forefront of these other developments that are happening around Smithfield and the county. So I'm just asking you that you please take that all into account. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parsons. Others? Yes, ma'am.
My name's Tamara Brawley. I'm somewhat new to Isle of Wight. We moved out by Tyler's Beach. I live at 14637 Tyler's Beach Road. We moved there last year, September. I have some concerns. I haven't lived here as long as some of y'all, but we moved out here to be in the country. We're on 10 acres, love the 10 acres. But since we've lived on Tyler's Beach, we've had tons of trespassers, like all the time. We have private property signs. They walk from the public beach across the lot across mine. They walk up. They leave garbage all over my property. They try walking through my yard. I have concerns about more development of that area and an increase and things like that. People light fires down there a lot and roast fish. And like not on the public beach, like they go off on not the public area. So I think that there needs to be some more signage down there. I think I agree that there's going to be lots of traffic problems if we increase the population in that area right there. It's very hard to get in and out of there at certain times. There's garbage all up and down Tyler's Beach Road. I don't know how often y'all get down there. People throw garbage out all the time. We have people stealing stuff down there. So I have concerns about the type of people that will be coming in and that type of, I don't know what these developments are going to be like. And for the next plan, I would like to see more information on what kind of improvements you have planned for Tyler's Beach, not just a line that says there's going to be improvements.
Thank you. Others? Is there anyone else? Close the public hearing. Commissioners?
Question
For Ms. Ring?
for Ms. Rainey. Has there been, I have a couple questions. Have there been any interest from developers in Rushmere area?
No, not yet.
And if this plan is approved and sent to the board and approved, what does that look like for Rushmere? I mean, you're still at the mercy of a developer wanting to come in and specifically target Rushmere.
So just the whole impetus behind the plan was when HRSD built the new sewer line between Surrey and Smithfield. And at that point, we realized that usually new utility lines can often be a harbinger for development pressure. So we felt like to get ahead of, development proposals coming in and you're in reactionary mode, that we would be proactive and develop a small area plan. So that's why it ended up as a goal of the 2020 comprehensive plan. Rushmere was designated a village center back in the 90s. And they actually did a village center plan with all the county's village centers, I believe in the 2005-2006 timeframe. So during the 2020 plan, when we were having our community meetings and our surveys at that time, we got a lot of feedback at the time that people wanted to see more housing options and some additional services in that particular area of the county. It was the only village center where we really received that kind of feedback. So some land uses were designated for additional residential area around that village center. Future recommended land uses, it's not like we had proposed developments or applications in. And with this plan, even, it was not to revisit the whole comprehensive plan process. We weren't, or the plan does not propose any land use designation changes. It's saying, if we get future development, what do you want it to look like? And so the whole idea behind kind of creating those conceptual pictures was to show what it could look like, not necessarily as what is actually coming in, because there is no actual current development applications in review at this time for the area.
And regardless of whether this plan is approved or not, it doesn't stop a developer from.
No.
And my other question is about Bradby Park.
Yes.
I have to admit, I've never been there, but I know that it has been in the CIP in the past
Yes.
for upgrades and stuff. What's the status of that? Is it still what it is or what it was?
So
5 years
the
ago?
community meeting we had back in September, we actually had the Parks and Rec director come out and give a presentation on phase 1 of the park development, which right now includes a basketball park, a trail, and some parking and an equipment shed. And then phase 2 will steadily, and phase 3 and future phases will slowly add on to that master plan, because there is a master plan that they developed for the park. So as money becomes available and things are added to the CIP, but I think it's in engineering and design. I know they submitted a site plan into our department for review a couple of months ago.
I think what I'm hearing part of the room say tonight is that there's a statement in the plan that references public access to specifically Burles Bay, which is a private entity at the current time. Is there room for verbiage to be, I understand there's public access at Tyler's Beach currently. Is there room for verbiage to be changed in it, or are we just
Yeah, I mean,
moving
we could
forward a plan?
certainly, change the wording of the document. That's one of the reasons for definitely the public hearing. I'm trying to remember.
I think it's in page 22, as I read it earlier. It actually was in your presentation, and one of the goals
Oh,
was to
okay.
increase public access to Burles Bay.
I'm in the comp plan. That would help if I was in the right plan.
Yeah, there you go.
So you would like to strike,
I'm not suggesting one way or the other, I'm just saying there may be an opportunity to correct some verbiage there. It appears that is a target
Okay.
of opening up public access to what's private property.
okay, so we could strike Burwell's Way from, or take that out of our proposed revision.
And I'm just one, I mean, and I would think also this should probably be tabled for discussion with the entire commission too, but. Any other comments from commissioners?
Well, I guess I want to mention, ask about, there are some concerns, I guess, about as far as traffic impacts. I mean, is that something that should be considered at this time, or I don't know what this, the magnitude that may be, and also as school systems, if there is, this type of development, would
So
there be?
we did not go as far as actually recommending actual densities or number of units.
Okay.
Or those kinds of things that would be, necessary in order to do a school impact or traffic impact analysis. There weren't a specific number of units. It was purely design guidelines and kind of conceptual plans for
Conceptual,
illustrative
yeah.
purposes only.
Yeah. So, yeah, okay. Again, I did read through the whole plan because I like, my background is developing procedures and writing technical papers. But there's a few comments I'll just mention that should be looked at, really to clarify some of the information in the report. So on page 9, there's a figure there. I think it's page 9. Let's see, the pages are not, yeah, there we are. So there's a figure there on page 9. It just says, it's a map with different colors of shades of green and yellow, but there's no identification of what the colors mean or what the purpose of that figure is.
Right, it's explained in the text itself, but it would be helpful to have a legend of some kind, yeah.
Something to describe what it means. As it is, I just, yeah. And then there's a photograph on page 13 of an old structure.
Yes.
I'm just curious, I assume that's in Rushmere.
Yes.
Is there any importance to identify what that is, or what's the significance
I
of
mean,
it?
we can identify it. It was just an example of one of the older architectural resources in the area.
Okay, maybe just label it and describe it as that, maybe. I just wonder, why is it there? And then, there's another figure that had, hold on, give me a second. Oh, yes, on page 29. This is the figure that shows, I guess, plans for potential trails and access. And in the legend, there's one of the items that's called, it's a walking trail with like a zigzag line on it. And I don't know what is supposed to be a walking trail versus a bike trail. And I don't know what the I don't see any zigzag lines like that in the figure. Maybe it's supposed to be, in the other top part, there's a line that's dashed line, and that's not defined what that is. Maybe that's the idea for the walking trail. That may be what that is. But just to clarify what's being proposed here. And then about the logo studies, I think it's not really clearly described here, but I think what it's basically saying is we looked at various concepts for logos, and the recommended one is, they're numbered 1 through 5, 5A and 5B. I think the recommended one is number 1. But it doesn't really make it clear which one that was selected. And it actually has a statement, the final logo is displayed at the top center of each page of the master plan. And that's not even true.
Yeah, they lost, the graphic artist lost the logo.
Okay.
So.
And then the other thing, and you showed some photos from this public feedback meeting, and they're included in the appendix. And I think it would be helpful at the beginning of that section to actually describe what they came from. Otherwise, right now it's just some pages with photographs on it. It's like, when I get there, it's like, what is all of this? But it'd be good to have a description at the beginning of that, describing what was actually done, what type of meetings were held, and just describe, these are some of the examples of some of the images that were taken during the brainstorm session and development of ideas, or something like that. We have an appendix with a bunch of photographs that don't, to me, are actually not even legible, but.
Yeah, the survey document's described on page 5, and that is actually what is included in the appendix, just to kind of explain it a little earlier. These
Okay.
are the survey questions and the pictures that were used in the visual preference survey. And then the percentages are what percentage of respondents actually picked that picture as their preferred preference.
So I looked at that too as well, so that's a little, I don't know if I fully understand what this is trying to tell me. So,
It's just the results of the survey. That's all it is.
yeah, but even the results I don't understand them. So like, for example, the first one says, which of the following images of commercial buildings have architecture that you find desirable and would be appropriate if built in Rushmere? And there's 3 photos of different types of commercial buildings, and there's percentages under each one. So what do the percentages actually mean?
So the percentages are like, out of the respondents, which ones picked that picture? So 73% picked the first one, 73% picked, they probably ranked them in order of preference.
But what
1,
is
2, and 3.
We should be coming up with a total of 100% somehow. Well, I don't understand. I don't understand what this means.
So
And then there's, and I think
I
what's
think
also.
you rank them in order of preference, so anyway, we can explain it more.
And I think the other thing that's included here, I assume these are comments that are part of they're included, because I don't know how those relate to the question, like, under the question I just read, it says country / rural field, inviting / family friendly, gables and porches. What do those comments have to do with any of these pictures? Again, I'm just making sure we're presenting information that can be understood. Okay, that's all I have.
Any other comments from commissioners? I mean, just keep in mind, this document is a work in progress, and this discussion is really about an amendment to the comprehensive plan for the document. It's strictly just a guide.
Yep.
And I will commend staff, to Mr. Tucker's point earlier, development follows sewer lines. And if you don't get out in front of things, you're not out in front of things. Is there a recommendation by the commission?
Ms. Ring, what is the timeline on this, finalizing this particular village master plan?
So it's done. So except for the comments that we're getting tonight from you all, I'll incorporate that into another draft that we'll then bring back to you if you table this along with the comprehensive plan tonight. And then you all can consider it again and decide whether or not to pass it on to the Board of Supervisors for their public hearing at that point.
I would think that we would table it for additional comments, and I wouldn't table it for a December meeting either. I would take it into the new year.
So we've been working on this since 2021. We've had 3 different community surveys, 3 community meetings and a pretty extensive survey. Since our last community meeting in September, I've received no additional comments. So if you all have comments, additional comments on the plan, then certainly, I'll incorporate those in the plan for your consideration. But tonight's public hearing was the last opportunity for public comments and public setting.
So I'm just thinking, with the truncated meeting schedule in December, are we looking?
We're not advertising it, so we
Okay,
don't need to worry
that's-
about timelines for that.
That's what I'm trying to make sure that we're not. And that's why I said, into the new year, into 2026.
And if I could, that it'll be the last, this was the last opportunity for public comment at the planning commission level. There will be another public hearing at the Board of Supervisors.
Right, before any adoption.
So I just don't want anybody to think that this was it.
Right.
There's an opportunity to revise the comments in another draft, and possibly a third draft, once all of us are here in December. Before we're under no time restraints to move it forward.
Yeah, that's why I was looking at that timeline, to just be sure that we would, due diligence with, what you need us to do in terms of getting this thing, one way or the other, into the decision-making mode. So, yeah. What's your pleasure?
What's your pleasure, sir?
What's your pleasure?
I need a motion one way or the other. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to table it along with the comp plan.
Second.
Motion's been made. Amanda, sorry.
Brian Carroll.
Yes.
James Ford.
Yes.
Jennifer Boykin.
Yes.
Brian Shotlow.
Yes.
George Rawls.
Yes.
Keith Johnson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
So we will bring this back up in our December 9th
December
meeting.
9th.
Right.
Any old business?
No old business.
New business? Mr. Attorney?
I have nothing.
Planning Director's report.
Okay, so we are back looking at the draft battery energy storage system regulations that was included in your agenda package. So as you recall, we went and visited the Dry Bridge Battery Energy Storage Facility at your October 30th annual retreat in Chesterfield County. We were met with Dominion Energy staff persons who hopefully did a lot to help answer your questions while we were visiting on site, as well as with the Chesterfield County staff during our lunch meeting following our tour of the facility. So staff did actually have a follow-up meeting with Dominion Energy folks, our fire rescue staff members, and our building official with their business development team and their fire safety personnel, and we went through the draft ordinance, and they gave us their concerns and suggested revisions to some of the wording. Our fire and rescue people were also there to kind of talk it through with them with some of their concerns. And so the draft that you have in your agenda tonight, the red line section of the ordinance are the changes from your September meeting we discussed, followed by the text that's highlighted in blue were the results of the meeting between county staff and Dominion Energy staff on September 25th. And as you can see, there's not a lot of changes in blue, and I'll highlight what those changes were. They're mostly on pages 3 and 4. At the top of page 3, the word agency was switched to association, because apparently that's the proper title, not agency. And there was some pretty good discussion about proper setbacks. And as Gary Wendell, our fire rescue chief, pointed out, the Fire Protection Association Code actually recommends 330 feet minimum setback for these facilities from adjacent residential areas. So we amended the setback again, where we stated that all battery storage equipment shall maintain a minimum of 100 feet setback from the security fence itself, with an additional 250 from all public roads and property lines. All equipment shall be set back at least 500 feet from any existing dwelling at the time of CUP approval. We then allowed some flexibility for the Board of Supervisors to reduce that down to 350, but no closer than 100 feet from public roads and property lines. They also expressed some concern with the change in safety technology with these facilities, that that fire suppression systems were no longer incorporated in the design of these facilities because of the possibility for runoff from these sites. And so they wanted to revise the language to where the fire suppression systems would only apply if you had indoor facilities only. So if you had a battery energy storage unit inside of a larger building, for example, then this fire suppression system requirement would apply. And that is reflected again in the next item on the following page. Adequate water sources and fire suppression appliances for indoor installations for the firefighters if required in the emergency response plans. And again, in item 12, under that same section, they decided as a group that other practices as recommended by experts or local first responders was a little too vague and ambiguous, and they felt like they needed to tighten it up a little, so they both agreed that they should eliminate that section. And that is pretty much it for the final recommended changes.
Commissioners?
So this is, oh,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, with the 3 that are missing tonight, they were all there at the retreat when we toured this facility. I'm wondering if we should table this until they can be here to, for input.
Well, yeah, right now it's not under consideration, it's just under planning director's
okay.
report. So we can, certainly get everybody's opinion at your December meeting, whether or not to develop a final draft for public hearing or not at that time.
We were going to say about the same thing. Yeah, I was unfortunately unable to attend the retreat, and so there were some things that I had some specific questions about, but I would rather withhold those questions, until we look at it again and, you know, talk about it at the next meeting and everything. Because I'm sure there was a learning opportunity for some of the things that you saw there, for us to incorporate as you have done with the red lines and everything. But I think that those individuals that are absent tonight, they probably have, you know, input as well.
And with this being part of the large-scale utility, this has to, this will be affected by the 2% cap, right?
So we, I think we did include that, saying it would apply to this as well.
I might have missed it, I didn't see anything.
I'll double check on that.
Any other comments?
Well, I guess, kind of related to your question, if we're relating this to the 2% cap, aren't we already at the cap?
We are.
We're over the cap.
Over the cap. So what is that?
You are, but the 2% cap is only related to prime farmland.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
I keep forgetting that.
In fairness.
And can we just have an ordinance that says no battery storage?
Any other comments?
Or something.
Just a comment, I think 5.2 was added, which makes references to a decommissioning plan, which I think is good to mention that because I think that's something very important because, as an example, I just read an article recently, there's a huge solar panel facility in California that was finished in 2014. It's being decommissioned now because of inefficiency. And the same thing with batteries. There may be a huge technology breakthrough in batteries where these lithium batteries are no longer really viable or not as efficient as newer ones. So may not even be a need for these, and I just see the potential for these facilities being shut down. So I think it's important, and I've looked at other counties like James City and Surrey, I think as well as Chesterfield. They have a section on decommissioning plan, and it's to be submitted at the time of approval. And it includes a timeline and description of the decommissioning, cost estimate for decommissioning, and their site restoration plan.
That's what we're doing on solar now.
Oh, okay.
We've already have that, and it actually, we have I believe it's every 5 years, they have to submit a new cost estimate and increase their bond accordingly.
Okay.
Cost
I
of
wasn't aware of that,
increase.
So we don't get stuck with the bill.
Well, that's right, that's my concern is, so that applies here as well, okay.
And we don't allow for salvage cost, right? And
No.
that would be the same for,
We have not been.
But yeah, we do not allow for salvage costs.
So we wouldn't
We don't
be
give
allowing that for
credit
the
for
battery
salvage
storage.
costs.
So to answer your question and both your questions, so the proposed item 2 on page 2, it says these systems shall meet all the ordinance requirements for utility scale solar energy facilities listed above unless otherwise noted. So the 2% rule by default applies to this as well.
Okay.
Do we have a motion?
Mr. Acting Chair, I move that we will move the report on this back to the next meeting to incorporate other comments.
Can I ask a question? I don't think there was actually, this was provided as information at this point, I thought. Is that right?
So this was, yeah, so I apologize, I walked away as Mr. Ford was talking, but this is just for informational purposes, only no actions required, unless you want to take an action.
Okay. And I'm just saying, move it back to the next meeting.
Yeah, add it to our agenda. for
Table
next
further discussion and
Okay,
add it to our next
I got you.
meeting agenda.
All right, well, you know, you just kind of cut us off in the middle of what we were saying. All right, so,
Motion is to move it to the agenda of the next
well,
meeting.
we need a second.
Second? Anybody second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So this will be added to our agenda for next month, too. Any closed meeting items?
No, sir.
Any other business? Do we have that other motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.
Get that?